Welcome back to the Traveler's News Service for the Regina Subsector. I'm your host, Cheng Mordecau. Recent victories on the Efate MAINWORLD have eased some of the pressure that rebels have been putting on the indigenous forces there. The overwhelming measures of the Imperial military and navy have pushed insurgent attacks away from major settlements and highly populated areas. In an interview, Colonel Aitan Raban, public relations officer for the 43rd Frontier Army, said, quote, "The guerrilla tactics of these rebels have been no match for the might of the 43rd. However, in another interview, Lord Calivan, Vice Marshal and Commander of the 43rd, expressed some amount of concern for the ease at which several of these skirmishes had ended. As a result, there was an increase to the garrison of troops in several major settlements. Stay tuned for more updates on the situation as they come in. One of the hired supplemental operations vessels that went missing 4 months ago from the Efate system has been found. The Proud Anselmo, a 200-ton A2 far trader of Salamani origin, was found in the system of Lausi in the Jewel subsector, a parsec spinward from Efate. Once identified, the crew of the ship, led by a man calling himself First Lieutenant Space Captain Face, was apprehended and interrogated.
Great planets, you guys! How many times do I have to tell you this freaking story? We were in hot pursuit of the rebels that Sartino Chess sent us after. We were the first ones to catch up to them, by the way. And I was just about to blast them in the stardust when they jumped away from the system. My onboard mechanic and second assistant in charge of hot pursuits tracked their trajectory and sent the details back to those other guys who were, supposed to be there to help us. They were still too close to some gravitational bodies, so I strapped my pasty white tuchus into the pilot seat. I told Strap that it looked like we're gonna have to jump. He punched it, but the rebels must have infected our computer systems with some kind of virus, because, we ended up going the wrong way.
I had to turn off the artificial gravity to make the jump, like I always do, when Space Captain Face attempted to recreate the Macau Pie Nebula in the air with a pouch of punchberry sauce. The sauce splattered onto the console and glitched the computer, which veered us off course.
So we ended up in Lausi. And let me tell you, this planet definitely lives up to its name. Not only is it cold, there's no breathable air, there's like a gajillion guys, and hardly any hot girls, but there's no good source of hydrogen anywhere, man. All they had was unrefined, selling it out of the back of that woodshed they call a starport. The Proud Anselmo will not suffer such dross to be pumped into her pristine tanks. That'd be like putting unleaded into a sports car, man. So, hey, Dagway, we hunkered down and kind of just hung out for the last couple months. Sounded like you guys had things under control over on Efate anyway, so we're probably just gonna hang out here for a while.
As of right now, the crew of the Anselmo has been placed into custody and are awaiting trial for desertion, though an insanity plea may obfuscate any charges. We've just received an important news update from our affiliate on Efate. Let's go to that report right now.
War continues here on Efate as several skirmishes erupted in a concentrated attack along the Spinwood side of the system early 2 days prior to this recording. The battle raged well over 36 hours as Rear Admiral Santinochev dispatched ship after ship to aid in the fight. But as the naval battle continued on the edge of the system, a new and more equally serious threat emerged from jump space to target the main world. The Dagger, an 800-ton Type C mercenary cruiser and one of 3 missing vessels hired for supplemental operations on Efate, appeared from jump space on a trajectory toward the main world yesterday, 24 hours after the skirmishes on the edge of the system had begun. After repeated attempts to hail the ship and with most vessels from the area helping in the skirmishes, System Control contacted the Perfect Stranger, a subsidized merchant which happened to jump into system close enough to render assistance to the Dagger. I got the chance to speak with Jack, one of the fearless crew members of the Perfect Stranger, who recounted his crew's harrowing approach on the Dagger as automated turret systems opened fire.
Rolled a critical hit against our maneuver drive. Now that don't sound like no big deal, except for the fact that our ship, it only had a thrust of 1, so that critical hit completely killed our drive. Our pilot managed to force a docking with the Dagger, so that was great. We were now able to board the ship. However, because we don't have a maneuver drive no more, we were now locked in course with this runaway ship.
Once aboard the Dagger, the heroic crew of the Stranger discovered the Mercenary vessel had been stripped, airlocks welded shut, and machine gun turrets with motion sensors intentionally set up in choke points to mow down any less than capable rescue party.
And those things were a lot of fun, because once we figured out that they were motion activated, we started throwing all sorts of trash and debris at them and tried to get that motion sense's attention. And then once the turret, kind of started turning away from us and shooting at the trash, we'd pop out from behind a wall and blast it in the ass. It was a hoot.
The dauntless crew of the Stranger discovered that not only had the Dagger's controls been programmed to impact Efate, but a nuclear payload was aboard large enough to level the most populated settlement on the MAINWORLD, a settlement that, at the time, housed the bulk of the indigenous forces. The rescue crew not only successfully disabled the trigger sensors on the bomb, but also redirected the course of the Mercenary vessel away from Efate and into the hands of the Imperial Navy. An immediate and thorough investigation revealed mounting evidence, including forced entry from a boarding party, and has led the Navy to conclude this as the work of the rebel insurgency. As the crew of the Perfect Stranger receives well-deserved praise and adulation, many questions still remain of the fate of the Dagger's crew, where the ship has been for the last 4 months, how did the rebels attain a nuclear device of that magnitude, and will they attempt something like this again? One of the supplemental operation vessels that went missing 4 months ago, the Dutswa-Otal, has yet to be located. One thing is for certain, recent events have been an all-too-real wake-up call for the Imperial forces to quash the insurgency as quickly as possible. I'm Igo Blan for TNS.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am just beside myself. That was my first time listening to this report, and the revelation of such an atrocity, even thought of being attempted, is absolutely mind-boggling. After the break, psionic shield helmets have become incredibly popular recently. Is this just a new fashion statement, or is the fear of war in the marches driving sales for this protective headwear? We'll be right back.